Hi everybody, I am here today with a really quick, small, teeny tiny project for you today. And really all it uses is this face sheet from the Graphic 45 Let It Bee Keepsake edition. I'm going to be using all these little pieces here to create this little teeny tiny micro mini album. And we'll go through this in just a minute. But I don't know about you, I hate throwing away even these face sheets, but I don't always know what to do with them. So this, I just saw all these and thought these would be a really cute, teeny tiny little album. Obviously, it is hard to work in smaller sizes, so this can be a challenge, but it can also be fun to try to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. This project was actually inspired by my friend Jody. Her channel is Jody Lewis Creations. I will link her video in the description box below so you can check out her project. She created this teeny tiny little junk journal with so much detail, and I was blown away by it. So here is my take on the teeny tiny micro project. Now, the only thing that I needed in addition to some twine, which you don't have to use, is some sheets of cardstock, and I used scraps. So 2 scrap pieces that were, I think, 1.5 by 11 inches. That's all I needed in addition to this. And then I used some wax thread here, some twine for a closure, and then I put a little tiny bee charm on the spine. But you could just use this here in the black cardstock and you wouldn't need anything else. So all these little tiny pieces, hopefully you can see this. These are all the pieces from the actual paper collection. So for my little book, I've just added the little tiny pieces, and these I have fussy cut from these pieces here. So really, it's just like a mini album that there are removable pieces and pockets. All the pages have something on them. And I've just used all those little tiny pieces. I'm not going to pull all of these out, but you get the idea here. Created another little tiny tag here. I mean, look how teeny tiny this is. Belly bands and pockets on the pages. And then on the tops of the pages, they are pockets, and I've created little tags here with some wax thread on the tops to help to pull these out. And that is all for my little micro Let It Be mini album. In the rest of the video, I'm going to show you exactly how I made this. So if you want to grab your face sheet and follow along, you can. If you have a different one, you can do the same thing. Some of the pages have the long strips on them, and you could do the same thing with that. Obviously, you wouldn't have each of the designs, but you could cut little pieces. And so there are lots of ways to do this, but anything with all these little pictures like this would be perfect. So go ahead and grab your papers and let's get into the tutorial. To get started, you are going to need to have 2 strips of paper. I've just cut these from scraps of 8.5 by 11 paper. This is 11 inches by 1.5, and we're going to be making little pieces that look like this. So you'll need to score this piece at 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, and 10.5. Then I'm just going to fold on the score lines, every other one in the opposite direction. And I'm going to line up these edges before I crease my folds so that everything is nice and straight. Now you want to do that with both of your pieces. And then we're going to connect these pieces to make our pages, depending on how many pages you want in your little book. Actually going to be gluing them together so that there is a pocket here, so front and back of the page, and a pocket, just like a typical mini album. So this is going to have this is going to go on my cover. This is how it's going to attach. Then I've got 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, and then I've got my tab here. So for that second piece, you don't need that full 11-inch strip unless you want more pages, which is why I told you to create the whole entire strip. But for my 4-page album, I only need these 3 pieces. Now with the flat and the 3 pages here, I'm going to lift up on the 1/2-inch tab. So the 1/2-inch tab is on the top, and apply my adhesive here. Then I'm going to take my second piece and adhere it right on top. And then fold it over. So now I have my inside, front, and back covers and my 4 pages that will have those pockets on the top. Next, I'm going to go through and close up my pockets. So I'm just going to apply some adhesive across the bottom and across the one side. And then I'm going to fold this so that it meets that first piece. Making sure again that everything is lined up nice and straight. I especially need to have these pieces lined up straight so that the spine isn't all lumpy. So now I have my first pocket page. I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. And the next one, same thing. And the 4th page. Just like that, I have my 4 pages. And then these for the front and back covers. Now I've laid out all the pieces that I have fussy cut from that front sheet. I know I'm going to be using the larger piece for my front cover. So I'm going to be taking these little pieces. Now this is why I made my pages the size I did, because these little swatches will fit perfectly on here. So I'm not going to be decorating the back sides of these, but I'm going to place one of these. I'm going to take off the little cut apart sheet and the journaling card sheet, and I'm going to be placing one of each of these on all of these pages on each side. So you do not have to put your papers in the order that I'm putting mine, but if you want to see what my page order is, I tried to coordinate the pages so that I had on the fronts, I had the busier papers, for lack of a better word. And then on the back sides, I have more of the kind of solid type papers. And then remember, nothing on the front and back. And make sure that whenever you do this, you have your little pockets at the top instead of at the bottom. Next, I'm going to create my tags for my pocket pages, and I've got these little half pieces that were showing the back side of the papers. I'm going to make mine in a tag shape, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim that little tiny piece off of the corner, and then I'm going to use this on my other pieces. To create that tag shape. And you can use any 4 of these you want. If you want to make them double-sided, you can as well. I am not going to. I'm just going to do them single-sided. Now there's 7 of them because the one when I cut out, I think there was something over top of it, maybe the banner, or it was one of the B pieces, and I ended up having to cut through one of the pieces. So if you are going to do this double-sided, you'll just take a piece of maybe this and use this for the back side. Now, once I have my little tags, I'm going to pierce a hole through the top. So I did switch to a thinner twine since these are so small. And I am just going to loop this on the top like this. And this is actually a wax thread that I'm using here that I use when I bind my journals. And I'm just going to cut this like that. And I'm going to do that for all 4 of my tags. So now that my tags are in my pockets, I'm going to start decorating the back sides of my pages and the inside covers. I've taken the little half pieces that I had left over, and I'm going to be using those pieces. So I've just cut them in half, and I am going to make this first one a little teeny tiny belly band. So I'm just adding adhesive to the top and bottom. And then I'm going to place this on the center of the inside front cover. Now it's actually a little tiny bit smaller top and bottom than this piece, but that's okay. It's not going to be a big deal. Moving on to the second one, I'm using the black polka dot paper, and I'm going to make this a tiny little pocket. So I'm going to add adhesive to the shorter sides and one of the longer sides and place it down here at the bottom on the back side of the first page. On the next one, I have a piece of the yellow striped paper. I'm going to make this a side loading pocket. So I have done the 2 shorter sides and one of the long sides, and I'm going to place this here on my right side. For the next page, I have the red paper, and I'm going to make another bottom loading pocket. And for the back side of the 4th page, I'm using the yellow stripe piece, and I'm going to make another side loading pocket, but this time on the left side of the page. And with my last piece of the black polka dot, I'm going to make another belly band for the center of the inside back cover. I cut apart that little tiny piece that showed the journaling cards, and I've got one of the larger and one of the smaller, if I can call this one large, and I'm going to place them inside my pockets. I might need to turn this one this way so that they will fit in there okay. Just like that. And same thing with each of these. I'm going to put one large card and one smaller card. Now from the page with the other cut aparts and the borders, I've got these two pieces, and I'm going to tuck one behind the belly band on the inside front cover and one behind the belly band on the inside back cover. So next I'm going to be working on the cover for my little book. I'm going to be using the bottom portion of this piece here, and I'm going to measure up from the bottom 1 5/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to draw a line across here and cut this bottom portion off. Now with this bottom portion, I'm going to just start to curve and bend this to make this a little bit easier. I do want my cover to extend past my pages just a little tiny bit, but it's not going to be too much because of how the covers are going to adhere, because remember, these are going to be glued down to that. So I've just gone ahead and curved this around. I'm going to move this, hopefully you can see. So I've got a little teeny tiny bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch past my paper here. And it's just curved around the spine, and it's a loose curve. It's not going to be a super flat spine. It's going to be more of a rounded spine. And once I have that, I'm going to just lightly mark on the inside where my pages are. And this is 3 3/8, so I'm going to be cutting this at 3 1/2. So now I have my cover. I've got 2 pieces of twine here. They're probably longer than I need them to be. I'm going to stick one on each of the insides here. This is what is going to hold my little book closed. Try to flatten the ends as much as possible so there's not a lot of bulk underneath this cover. And now I'm going to take my little pages, and I'm applying adhesive to the back panel right now just because that's where I have that mark from the line I drew. I'm going to make it easy on myself and just place my book on that line. And then I am not going to apply any adhesive to the spine. It's going to be more like a floating spine. So I'm just going to then add my adhesive to my cover. And then I'm going to close my book. Then I'll open it up so I can press this down. And then I am going to just hold this here, or if you have something heavy you can sit on top of it. You could clamp this, but I want this to dry so that both inside covers are completely adhered to my paper. To decorate my cover, I've taken the little Busy as a Bee banner. I've bent this left side and rounded it, and then here I've bent up on this right side and flipped up on my edges. It's going to go down here at the bottom, and then this is going to wrap around, and then this I'm going to adhere down so that this is down and these little end pieces are flipped up, and the center will have some dimension. So this whole left side will be adhered down. I can add my adhesive to that part, and then just these little tips over here. And starting over here on the left side, I'm lining up the bottom edge, wrapping this around, and then I will set this side down right on the edge of the cover. Then I'm taking one of the little bee pieces, adding my adhesive only to the center, popping up those wings, and I'm going to stick it here and lift up on those wings so that the center is adhered down, but the wings are not. And then I'm going to let this dry before I come inside and add any additional little pieces that I want. So everything else is left over, and anywhere you want to add some things to your inside pages, you can. So this is my finished little book. I did use my wax thread, same thing that I had for my tags up here, and I just added a little teeny tiny bee charm to my spine section. And then I have gone through and just added things to each of my pages from those little sheets that I had left over. So little teeny tiny pieces. And you can add whatever you want in whichever pages you want to decorate your book. I hope my quick tutorial on this micro mini album has been something that maybe inspires you to try one of your own. And if you are going to make one, I would love to know which of the Graphic 45 collections you plan to use. So please feel free to leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.